Hi again. So I'm sorry that the last video got cut off. That's why this is part two. So I ended up talking about therapy. So therapy for me has been very illuminating and helpful over the years, and I've been doing it, since basically the age of 2021. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, but um, I think that trauma informed therapy is really important. But then Buddhist practices as well, in all the time outside of those really intensive sessions, for example, with EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, can be vital. And that is to say, we are not our past, right? And while we can get quite attached to certain narratives of the past, and by narratives I don't mean things that didn't happen, I mean in understanding the past, uh, we need to also focus on the here and now, and detach from the suffering that trauma brings with it. So why do I say that? Because very often estoy cargada de ese peso. I'm overloaded with that weight that isn't actually what's happening right now. Um, but from the body's perspective, it still carries it. And so certain kinds of Buddhist practices like meditation and mindfulness would be really good here. I had an astrologer in Kolkata actually tell me exactly that. So there you go. It's quite cold here in Los Angeles, so that's why I put a jacket on right now. Yeah. So I'm thinking that instead of dragging like a ball and chain, all of those experiences I've been trying to integrate and confront, I need to actually change tack as well. And that's something you can do from a hotel room. It's something you can do from your home. It's something you can do when you're on the move. One of the things that happens with people diagnosed with CPTSD is that we're constantly hyper aroused in our nervous system, and also always anticipating that things are going to go wrong. And when there's a bit of confirmation of difficulty or whatever, that just sort of snowballs. So for me, worrying about finances, transactions that I haven't authorized, I seem to be having quite a few of them. Although I stopped one in its tracks this time because I checked on time. I managed to do that, dishonor the transaction. So hopefully that will result in the refund, or just stopping it, because I can't be put in that situation. So acting with mindfulness is to say, okay, this is what is happening now, and this is what possibly could happen, but I'm not going to fall into some big hole. I'll be all right. We'll get through this. I recognize the smarting that such things can cause, the kind of knife, as the Buddhist monk put it. Rather than try and get that knife out, you can look at the knife, yeah, and you can say, okay, well, what's that knife doing right now? How do I feel? Is that knife in me, that wound, me? No, because there's a part of me that can observe from outside and recognize that it's happening, but also not over-invest in it. Well, they're not his words, but that's what I would add. So, yeah, that really came at a very good time for me. Of course, there are stresses in everyday life, but knowing how to just recenter, have that calm that comes with meditation and with atención plena, mindfulness, it has no price. I often think the worst is going to happen, and it doesn't. Life should tell us that, right? It really should. And even if the worst does happen, there's ways around it. The worst is that you just pass to the next dimension, which in itself isn't actually worst. There are many things that go on this planet that I don't experience directly. So I have control over most things. The desire to have control all the time, though, can also cause suffering. So knowing when to let go and say, look, I can't resolve this actually right now, or it's purposeless for me to be fixating on it. That's also a recipe for achieving that degree of reflexivity and calm. Example, a journal internal reviewer says this is not suitable for our journal. This has happened to me before. Doesn't mean that the article's not good because I published it somewhere else in a better journal. But, you know, there are parts, wounded parts that suffer rejection that could articulate at that point and say, this is a disaster. All that effort, I'll never be good. And we know that those are all parts, and so we don't actually have to be that only responding to those parts. There's another part, this comes from therapy, that will speak to me and say, no, well, you can take control of this and redirect it. You've been through this before. Submit it somewhere else. It wasn't to be. And it's the same with anything that we call failure. Too much gets called failure versus success. I'm actually a bit allergic to the idea of success because I understand that there's a lot of striving and also a sense of failure that can go along with it. So a balanced perspective would be to say, I take what will come. I take what will come. Yeah? And so I want to reflect on that as I continue on this journey. And life itself is a journey. As Mum used to say, Earth is a school. And I think a lot of wisdom, including Eastern, comes via her. And that inspires me. That inspires me to move from the present to going forward. From here and now, safe, in the right place, to where I have to go next. Trust, fundamentally.